Chapter 10.1111 Envelophant Invitations. That night we all received elaborate invitations to Miguel's 1111th birthday party. We were about to go to bed when our envelophants appeared, each with a special set of party invitation rainbow wings. My envelophant swooped over to me, and as I caught him, he struggled wildly, trying to escape. I sensed that he wanted his message to be taken seriously. If it wasn't, I somehow knew he would head off into the night air and give his gift to someone else. We all sat grinning, holding our rowdy envelophants. "Who's first?" I asked. "Me," said Frank, holding his envelophant up to his ear. Even though he was speaking in a low voice, we could all hear Hush's message. "You're most cordially and very warmly invited to Mr. Miguel Monsterhagen's 1111th birthday party," said Hush solemnly. "When is it?" asked Minnow, trying to be sincere even though she already knew. Hush looked alarmed. "I can't tell you," he said. "Your own envelophant would be the most put out." "Oh," said Minnow, "true." She held her envelophant up to her ear, and we all heard him say, "My name is Gentle, and I've been asked to invite you most cordially and most warmly to Mr. Miguel Monsterhagen's 1111th birthday party." My envelophant suddenly lurched up into the air and shouted, "It's tomorrow night! Tomorrow night!" He then fluttered back into my hands and quickly turned into an envelope, clearly feeling a little bit embarrassed about his enthusiastic announcement. Then the black envelope in my hand turned back into an envelophant and looked at me while whispering, "I'm Base, by the way." "So glad to know your name," I said. "I'm Ben." Base nodded and sat trembling slightly in my hand. Sky's envelophant suddenly shot up into the air. "My name's Songster," she said as she flew around the room. As Songster flew, the other envelophants joined her and started to sing a haunting song. Before the song started, a strange humming sound came from their trunks. It reminded me of a clarinet or a horn. I loved it. They also slapped their feet together as they flew, made a weird drumming, and then they sang. 1,000 times a million doors to eternity. I may have lived 1,000 lives, 1,000 times, and endless turning stairway climbs. Another 1,000 years, 1,000 wars, the towers rise to numberless floors in space. I could shed another 1,000,000 tears, 1,000,000 breaths, 1,000,000 names, but only one truth to face. And that gave you a sense of the song, but the words mightn't have been very clear, so I'll read them again. 1,000 years, 1,000 more, 1,000 times 1,000,000 doors to eternity. I may have lived 1,000 lives, 1,000 times, and endless turning stairway climbs to a tower of souls. If it takes another 1,000 years, 1,000 wars, the towers rise to numberless floors in space. I could shed another 1,000,000 tears, 1,000,000 breaths, 1,000,000 names, but only one truth to face. As the envelophants flew around and around, we became entranced, and after they finished singing, my envelophant whispered, 1,000 years. That's a long time to give up your freedom for a friend. I looked at him and nodded. "Thank you, Bass," I said. Bass nuzzled me with his trunk and then nuzzled Sky. "Thanks very much," whispered Sky, her eyes full of tears. Base nodded at us before joining the other envelophants. After that, Bass used his trunk to sound a triumphant trumpeting sound, and then he vanished into a puff of black smoke. The envelophants that had visited Frank, Sky and Minnow also trumpeted before vanishing into thin air, leaving puffs of smoke in blue, red and indigo. "Tomorrow," I said, holding up my invitation. "Yee-haw!" shouted Frank, throwing his up into the air.